Welcome to the Infrastructure Podcast. My name is Anthony Oliver, and in today's podcast we will, I hope, start the new year by catching a glimpse of the art of the possible when it comes to embracing the use of data, technology and digital tools to drive improvement across the infrastructure sector. As such, it's my pleasure to sit down today with Nicholas Cumins, Chief Executive of global infrastructure software giant Bentley Systems. Nicholas stepped into the hot seat 6 months ago when former CEO, founder and driving mind for the business Greg Bentley moved up to chair the now public company, ending 4 decades of family control. So, no pressure there then. Nicholas set out his stall for the direction of the business during his keynote address to the 2024 Bentley Systems Year in Infrastructure event held last October in Vancouver. This annual event gathers infrastructure's top minds to share information and inspiration, find out what's new in the digital design, construction and operation world, and of course celebrate success with a bunch of now highly coveted awards. And these kind of global events really demonstrate clearly how governments around the world are banking on infrastructure investment to drive economies, but also that the future of our built environment really depends on doing more with less and on achieving better economic and social outcomes for communities. And as Nicholas pointed out in Vancouver, that means creating new, sustainable solutions that will both protect our natural environment and meet global targets for cutting carbon emissions, but it also means finding new and better ways to manage and maintain the vast amount of vital infrastructure that already exists. And it's fair to say that software companies like Bentley are developing extraordinary tools to power this transformation. So let's hear what's new and what's around the corner. Nicholas, Happy New Year and welcome to the Infrastructure Podcast.
Well, thank you, Anthony. It's a pleasure to be here with you and your listeners. And it was great to see you in Vancouver just a few months ago.
Well, I've certainly enjoyed that. But as we roll into 2025, you've been with Bentley now for over 4 years, having started as Chief Product Officer in 2020 and then moving up to become Chief Operating Officer 2 years ago. And stepping up to the Chief Executive role 6 months ago is a hugely exciting moment for you in the business. And we'll talk a moment about some of the specifics of recent purchases and strategies. But more generally, Nicholas, just over 6 months into the role, how do you describe the current challenges? How's 2025 looking for you?
Look, I think this is a great time to be in infrastructure. It's a great time to be in infrastructure engineering software, and it's a great time to be at Bentley. So let me explain that. Great time to be in infrastructure. There's so much demand for better and more resilient infrastructure, whether it's to support the economy or the overall population growth, rapid urbanization, the transition of energy, and in fact securing energy sources, which is of great importance here in Europe. Like at the same time, there's just not enough infrastructure engineers,
right? Yeah.
To do all the work to fulfill of that demand. That demand is far outpacing the capacity. So there's this widening engineering resources capacity gap, and that's why I say it's great to be in infrastructure engineering software, because software is, of course, one of the keys to help bridge that gap, between the very high demand for infrastructure and what we're actually able to do with the number of engineers that we have at hand. And it's a great time, of course, to be at Bentley. We have a lot of positive momentum going into 2025. We've made some great strategic moves. I'm sure we're going to be talking about in a few minutes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we mentioned when we met up in Vancouver for the Infrastructure Year in Infrastructure event, and the awards, of course, they're in the 20th year now, and it's really an established celebration of the projects around the world. And it's quite often said that we don't celebrate our successes enough in infrastructure. Clearly it marked your 100th day in office as well. But apart from that, why is an event like that celebration so special for you?
It is indeed always special because we are showing the art of the possible by showcasing these amazing infrastructure projects around the world and their use of the technology to achieve better outcomes. And it's truly inspiring for everyone, including us. And this year it was, full of great announcements with respect to the acquisition of Cesium, our new capabilities for AI, the launch of a new offering for asset analytics, and a partnership with Google, that will really help the infrastructure professionals get just a better information about the context of the infrastructure that they're designing, building, and operating.
Well, I'm going to drill into a bit more about those particular purchases in a minute. But Bentley's changed a huge amount over the last 4 decades in terms of its impact on the market. But moving from being a family-owned business to becoming a public company feels like a huge moment of change. Hugely transformational moment for the industry, but also for the company. I mean, is that how you see it?
That's how we see it as well, right? So this year was also special because we celebrated 40 years of the company.
Right, yeah.
And it was a great opportunity to, take a step back and remind ourselves on how the company has successfully leveraged multiple paradigm shifts to advance infrastructure engineering software, whether it was the personal computer or internet or cloud computing or digital twins. So it's a great source of inspiration, obviously a great foundation to build on. Now, as a publicly traded company, we were able to do things we were not able to do before. We were able to do big acquisitions, whether it was Sequent for subsurface modeling or Powerline System for the design and analysis of electric transmission towers. Those were big moves that we were not able to do when we were just a private company. And what we're trying to do here is to basically get the best of both worlds. So from the former family-owned business, we want to keep the long view on things. We want to, with a deep care for infrastructure, the deep care for the domain, the deep care for the infrastructure professionals, we want to invest for the long run. And then as a publicly traded company, we have now more firepower to accelerate that vision.
Yeah, which is, I imagine, really, really important because the pace of change in your world is so huge and so rapid that you need to have that firepower to, to stand behind your innovation.
That's exactly right.
I mean, you talked in Vancouver about the need to focus on 95% of the assets that are already built, and you announced the launch of Bentley Asset Analytics, which utilizes AI to generate insights into the operating conditions of infrastructure assets. I mean, where would you say the challenges are? Because it's in many ways it's quite easy to focus on the new shiny stuff. The existing stuff is quite hard to really get your hands around.
Yeah, that's right. So look, there's so much demand for better and more resilient infrastructure. We don't think that we can simply build our way through this. Yeah,
right.
The existing infrastructure has to be part of the equation. We need to find a way of extending the lifespan of the existing infrastructure, increasing its capacity, expanding it. Right, and so this all starts with a better understanding of the infrastructure assets as they are today, of their operating conditions. And the traditional way to do this is to send some people to do manual inspections. That is just highly inefficient.
Right.
Sometimes a bit dangerous if you think of people hanging over ropes and with pen and paper, understanding what's going on with the bridge. So there are much better ways to do that for sure, right? So whether it's flying a drone and then capturing all the footage of that bridge and then creating a digital twin with millimeter accurate details to then understand what's going on with that bridge. So there's just a great opportunity here to leverage technology, including AI, to just accelerate and make sure that we have a more systematic way of understanding what are the operating conditions of the infrastructure assets. So we did announced a new product offering where we brought both acquisitions and some internal developments. We call that Bentley Asset Analytics. And it is really leveraging AI for computer vision, but it's also leveraging the rest of our portfolio, like engineering software, so that we can understand what that data means from an engineering standpoint. Is the structural integrity of that asset endangered, for example? Yeah. Now, this is a growth opportunity for the company for sure. Right now, it's less than 10% of our business, which is related to asset operations. So it's a big growth opportunity. We're also quite clear that this is not about Bentley going directly and offering those capabilities to owner operators. There has to be somebody else involved, and that somebody else is the engineering firm. So we really think it's a big growth opportunity for the engineering firms themselves to be involved beyond the handover point of the infrastructure assets and to develop a more recurring ongoing business which is not depending anymore on capital funding. And here basically lies the biggest challenge. I think whenever I talk to leaders of engineering firms, they definitely see the same opportunity. They're just very, very, very busy right now in delivering projects. Yeah. And again, they just don't have enough capacity to deliver on all of that demand. So it does require the long view, actually. It does require quite a bit of effort to look at the horizon and make sure that you are carving out the time, the resources in order to invest to really diversify your business beyond project delivery.
Yeah, but I suppose when you drive around the US, you drive around the UK, or you drive around France, where you are now, keeping all those assets in really good condition is a huge challenge for every government around the world. Putting that data together, which enables you to keep an eye on what's happening, that's a huge challenge for everybody.
That's right. And there's so much data available. If you think of satellite imagery or, data that is coming from dash cam providers, that's actually one of the solutions that we have for the road maintenance. It's called Blinksy, but we're basically processing data that is coming from dash cam providers, and then we can detect what's going on with that road network. And before any problem actually arises, we can see if there's vegetation that is growing on some signs, or if there's any, a crack on the road itself, etc. So definitely, you don't have to send people. Sometimes you don't even have to fly drones. We can make use of data that is already readily available.
You revealed a new exciting partnership with Google, which I presume that is also really about being able to leverage the power of that data. How do you see it? What do you say that partnership will achieve? And how will it help your customers?
Google has indeed just massive data that is of interest for infrastructure professionals. They have more than 40 years of historical imagery. They have more than something like 1,000 curated geospatial data sets. They have near real-time satellite imagery that they've basically created, and they are curating on an ongoing basis a digital twin of the planet Earth. So the partnership that we have with Google is that actually it's making that digital twin of the planet Earth available for infrastructure professionals so that they can tap into this vast amount of geospatial data to better design and better operate infrastructure assets. And Google happens to be leveraging the 3D tiles open standard that has been created by Cesium, the acquisition that we made a couple of months ago. So from a technology standpoint, it fit right in. It was just very complementary as a partnership with this acquisition that we've made.
Yeah. Well, the acquisition of Cesium really underlines the whole concept of open data. I mean, your keynote address really focused on the critical role of open data. As you put it, the future of infrastructure has to be open. But what is driving this desire for new levels of openness?
It's the same point we were, making at the very beginning of our conversation here, which is, on one hand, there's just so much demand for better, more resilient infrastructure. On the other hand, there's just not enough engineers to do the work. And at the same time, we see that there's so much data that has been created, but so little data is reused. There's just so little insight. It's just a paradox, right? So, one of the keys to improve the productivity of the infrastructure sector, of the infrastructure professionals, is allowing them to tap into all of that data that's being created in order to generate insights, in order to make better decisions. Now, the problem is that data historically is trapped into different file formats, proprietary file systems, and it's never reused. Some say that only 5% of the data created in the infrastructure sector is ever reused. That's staggering. So we need to make sure that data is flowing very freely from, one engineering software to the next, from one phase of the infrastructure lifecycle to the next, from one infrastructure organization to the next. There shall never be, force, to keep data into whatever engineering software they're using or whatever collaboration software they're using, or, this is really about how we make all of that data available so that we can derive better insights, we can make better decisions in order to solve for that engineering resources capacity gap that we're facing as a sector.
Because engineering professionals, they're just using tools and they don't really want to be bogged down with actually who's providing those tools. It's about how to use them in the most effective way.
Yeah, exactly. They should be using whatever tool is the most appropriate for their use case right now. they shouldn't be forced to use a tool because of some data limitations.
Yeah. And of course, you mentioned the recent acquisition of Cesium, which is an open platform for geospatial design. Tell us about it. I mean, what is it? And I suppose, why or what does it enable you to do that you couldn't do before?
Yeah, so our acquisition of Cesium definitely furthers our commitment to the open approach. Cesium has been a champion for open standards. And with this acquisition, we're basically bringing together the leading open platforms and developer communities for the built and the natural environment. Now, when we launched our digital twin platform, iTwin, many years ago, we quickly came to the realization that the most natural way for infrastructure professionals to interact with the digital twin of the infrastructure asset they are designing, building, and or operating is geospatial.
Right. Because it puts it in location where they are in the world.
That's exactly right. When it comes to infrastructure, it is the most natural way of interacting. So in a sense, with the acquisition of Cesium, we have changed the vantage point. So until now, the design work, the construction work, the operation work was all organized around the digital twin of the infrastructure asset. Now it's actually all organized around the planet Earth. The planet Earth is the vantage point. And then we overlay the digital twin of the infrastructure asset. And now, because we're adopting that geospatial dimension, it allows us also to surface all sorts of data, which is of interest for infrastructure professionals to make better informed decisions during the design, construction, and operation.
Which speaks to this whole issue of collaboration, because if you're able to overlay your new design on the existing geospatial information, whether that's the power supplies or the water supplies, you're able to get better collaboration between all the different parts of the infrastructure on which is operating in.
Right on.
Which all sounds incredibly exciting, Nicholas. I mean, give us a glimpse into the future. I mean, how do you see this new world of open data, of better collaboration and better tools for collaboration really changing the infrastructure world? How do you think it will change the professionals' way of working and culture?
Well, a glimpse in the future, I will say infrastructure professionals are really embracing data-centric workflows as opposed to file-based workflows. So engineering teams are working directly into a digital twin of the infrastructure asset that they are designing, and they don't have to exchange files, between each other. And they only create files if and when they need some, right? In the future, you will have engineers from different disciplines able to identify potential opportunities and issues as they're bringing their design together also into that digital twin. Infrastructure professionals overall will be able to leverage AI to automate some very mundane parts of the design process. In the future, you will have information about your infrastructure assets available at the fingertip, whether it is engineering data or operational data or enterprise data or subsurface data, you name it. Yeah. That's where we're going.
Okay. Well, let's drill in a bit more to your background, Nicholas, because I said you joined Bentley Systems back in 2020 after a career spanning over 20 years in data management. I spent at data giant SAP, and you worked with a lot of different industries and a lot of different businesses in that time. I mean, how would you say, or what would you have learnt about the software business, and in particular its power to transform industries, such as infrastructure, over this time?
Well, I'm indeed a software. I'm a software leader at heart. I'm actually passionate about the impact that software can have on the productivity of individuals, of teams, of organizations, and full industries. What I love with software is the sky is the limit.
Yeah.
There's just no end to what we can do in order to improve productivity, in order to improve efficacy. So it's just, I've been very lucky actually to work in multiple software industries. Yeah. Whether it is enterprise software or government technology or advertising technology, and now in software for infrastructure, just to see how much indeed software is taking an industry to a whole different level.
Would you say then that the construction and infrastructure sectors, they are Well, they are notoriously slow for embracing digital technology. I mean, do you see that changing?
Oh, I definitely see that changing. And we were talking about the Going Digital Awards, and that's how you can track, how it's changing.
Yeah.
You know? So every year we are celebrating these fantastic infrastructure projects and their leverage of software, of technology to improve outcomes. That's why we call them the Going Digital Awards, right? It is quite interesting indeed, because I will say the level of digitalization is quite high in design. And then for some reason, it gets dumbed down. Yeah.
Right.
We go from digital twins and 3D to, 2D and drawings that have to be generated so that can be used in constructions. And then we hand over an infrastructure assets with data that, it's going to grow stale very, very quickly. So I think there's a fabulous opportunity here to bring the same level of digitalization from design into construction, into operations, to maintain the digital thread of an infrastructure asset so that when it goes into operations, the digital twin represents the asset as it was built. And then it's always available in operations. If you need to do maintenance work or need to do expansions, it's always available and represents infrastructure assets as it is. There's just a ton of potential there.
Yeah. And the tools, I suppose, today are available to really reduce the cost of keeping that data fresh.
Yeah, exactly. At every step along the way. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. I mean, you're French. You currently run the business from France, albeit in a hybrid role, because I'm sure you're traveling all around the world all the time. Before that, you were based in Germany. I mean, there are major cultural differences, I suppose, in terms of leadership styles between the US and Europe. I mean, how would you describe the challenge of running a business like Bentley? Because you have got feet in different continents.
Well, look, it's an opportunity in itself. This was no coincidence. And when we announced the CEO succession, we did it in London together with Greg, my predecessor. And it is, a clear sign of our ambition to grow beyond the US, that this CEO is both a US and a French citizen and is based in France, as you pointed to. So, more than half of our business is outside of the US. The vast majority of our colleagues is now outside of the US. We're truly a global company. We're very proud of our US roots, and our business in the US still has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
But we definitely are looking at the rest of the world to continue to expand, whether it's in Europe, Middle East, Africa, or in Asia Pacific. It's an opportunity, to bring diversity of thinking, which at the end of the day is that art of software. Software is all about getting the best idea, and you get to the best idea if you're able to confront very different perspectives. It's potentially challenging if everybody thinks the same way, because you're just gonna get into incremental innovation here. If you want something truly disruptive with a lot of potential, great if you expand a bit your horizon and then you bring all sorts of perspectives in play.
Well, I mean, you're clearly super busy at work. You live down in the south of France. What do you get up to when you're not at work? What do you do in your downtime?
Anything outdoors, whether it's running or hiking, or I'm hopeful I'll be able to do a little bit of skiing. We're not too far away from the Alps where I live. Just last Sunday we were hiking on a mountain between Aix-en-Provence and Marseille. It's called Garlaban. A beautiful mountain. We could see all the way to the Alps, and I could detect some snow there. So I'm very much looking forward to doing that. But yes, this is how I take a full break from work, and I get re-energized.
Very good, very good. Well, let's get back to Bentley. We've spoken a lot about open data, but what we haven't really got stuck into is the power of AI. I mean, I spoke to Greg Bentley, your Vice President for Emerging Technologies, and also to Julien Mout, your CTO, recently, and both talked on the podcast about the future role of AI in infrastructure. I mean, we do hear a lot of hyperbole about this potential. I mean, how do you, as the CEO of the company, how do you see AI really transforming the infrastructure sector?
Look, it's happening now, especially when it comes to asset operations. In the context of asset analytics, to get this better understanding of the operating conditions of the infrastructure assets and do it at scale. AI is absolutely part of the solution, right? So I mentioned this road monitoring software where we're processing data that is coming from dashcam providers. We have a similar solution when it comes to telecommunication towers, where here indeed we are processing data that is being captured through drones, but we create these digital twins of tens of thousands of towers to understand their structural condition, understand if more equipment can be put on it, etc. And we see an opportunity to do this across asset classes. That really is our ambition, to be able to offer asset analytics capabilities to engineering firms and others to serve owner operators across asset classes and regardless of their data capture techniques, whether it's drone footage or satellite imagery or you name it. And now we see a big opportunity for AI much earlier in the life cycle of the infrastructure assets, already in design. I think AI can take over a lot of the mundane work that is not helping when you just don't have enough engineers already to fulfill all of the demand for infrastructure. AI can then, take care of these mundane tasks that's just sucking precious time, and you can focus on the more creative task at hand.
Yeah. We've been through, of course, the BIM revolution, which in many ways was, I suppose, the start of this, trying to make things more efficient. And we keep hearing, how AI is going to transform every aspect of life and making things much easier. But I suppose what does an AI revolution feel like to you, Nicholas? Does it feel kind of something which is scary, or does it feel something which is slightly more kind of exciting and creative?
Look, I think it's just great timing, because indeed there's just so much demand and just not enough engineers. So the whole question is how we can do more with less, and AI is definitely the opportunity here. So I'll give you an example. I was attending the Global Leadership Forum, FIDIC, and back in April in Geneva, and there were two topics. The first one was environmental sustainability. And how can we make sure that we lower the embodied carbon of infrastructure assets that are being built, and how can we do it without sacrificing time and cost, which are the two most important dimensions for product delivery, at least for now. And then the second topic was AI, and then you could see, how the light bulbs with the leaders of infrastructure organizations around the world saying, well, there you go. AI is actually what's going to help us be able to optimize, not just for delivering on time and on budget, but also with a lower carbon footprint.
Getting better outcomes, I suppose.
That's exactly getting better outcomes. So it's more efficient and more effective. It's designed potentially faster, but designed better as well. AI can help on both fronts.
But I imagine that those industry bosses would also be thinking low margins, low skill levels, low barriers to entry. The reality is the infrastructure sector is probably going to be ill prepared for this coming AI revolution. Is that fair? Is that a legitimate concern?
Well, what I would say is, and also to answer your earlier question, how this AI revolution is gonna feel, I will say it has to feel non-disruptive for exactly that point. It has to feel a more gradual. These AI capabilities need to be embedded in the software and the workflows that these engineering firms are currently using, and not requiring them to change completely the way they work. If not, they won't be adopted. So we took that as a design principle, if you want, for our own software, to make sure that indeed those capabilities are being introduced in a gradual way, and but in a non-disruptive way, so that we can maximize the chance of these capabilities for being adopted. And I think all of us as consumers, we've been experiencing this. We are sometimes leveraging AI capabilities on our phone without even realizing it, because it's all very natural. That's right.
Well, just to round out, one of the I said at the top that, governments around the world are really looking to infrastructure to drive their economies, but they're also looking to find cheaper, more efficient ways of managing it. And I was in Toronto recently helping Mark Coates, your VP for Infrastructure Policy Advancement, deliver another summit, which is around the whole kind of transforming infrastructure performance series. And we heard there about the power of data to really help make the case for infrastructure, because making that case to politicians is kind of fundamental, but it's really hard. So how can businesses like Bentley really help persuade politicians to continue to invest in assets?
Well, it's really by showing the art of the possible, and showing the art of the possible is not discussing in very abstract terms and talking tech. Yeah, it's really showing them very concrete projects where technology has been used to leading to significantly better outcomes, whether it was a digital twin technology or it was AI technology, you name it. So you mentioned that forum, so that's what we're indeed trying to do, which is to bring together the practitioners with people from government, also people from infrastructure sector, so that we can share the stories, and then we start to understand how technology can not only increase productivity, but it can also de-risk. It can de-risk product delivery. It can de-risk infrastructure assets. And that's, of course, of high importance for not only the government, but the people who are giving money, the capital for these very large infrastructure projects, for these large infrastructure assets.
I suppose being able to demonstrate to communities what the actual benefits are is a really important thing. I mean, 6 months into the CEO role, Nicholas, and your message in Vancouver was one about sustaining infrastructure, sustaining tomorrow's infrastructure today. So just to finish off, I mean, what's your message to professionals working in the sector? I mean, how do you see Bentley helping them to do their jobs better, but also to deliver the change that they all seek and that you seek?
I will tell them, you're solving some of the world's biggest problems, and we are proud to be supporting you. For the past 40 years, we have been in the business of leveraging software to help you better design, build, and operate better and more resilient infrastructure. We have done it through, multiple paradigm shifts, whether it was personal computing or cloud computing or digital twin technology. And AI, artificial intelligence, is this generation's paradigm shift. So you can count on us to help you leverage that technology for better outcomes.
Right. Nicholas, it's a hugely exciting time, and thanks so much for sharing so many real examples of the way that you are driving industry transformation. Thanks very much for joining me today on the Infrastructure Podcast.
Well, thank you, Anthony. This has been great, and I look forward to joining you and your listeners again soon.
Brilliant. Thanks very much. I'm sure that over the course of 2025, there'll be many things that Bentley Systems is putting on that I will no doubt be getting along to, and maybe even getting involved in delivering. So it's great to see you again here today, Nicholas.
Thank you, Anthony.
That's all we've got time for today, though, and it's our first issue of the new year. But there will be more from the Infrastructure Podcast in the pipeline over the year, and more guests to talk to as we continue to probe the big issues faced across the sector. If you haven't done so already, do check out the Infrastructure Podcast website, www.infrastructure-podcast.com, where you'll find background information and all the latest podcasts to listen to and to share. So thanks for joining us. Thanks again to Nicholas, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon.